Hello everyone, MightyMechanic here. Today we have an 04 Kia Sorento in the shop. I'm going to be showing you how to replace the radiator. Alright, so the owner already removed this top cover. And I will show you how it goes back on when I put it back on. But to get it off, there's just looks like the little plastic clips on it, and you're probably just gonna unscrew those on top and then take a, and pop them out. But when I put it back together, at the end of the video, I will show you exactly how that goes. There's also one on the bottom, which I'll show you here in a second, that goes on there that the owner removed, and I believe there's like 6 bolts on that. I believe they're like 12mm bolts, but they're on the bottom there, and to remove that plate so you can undo the stuff underneath there. So, and it looks like to clear the cooling fans, I'm gonna go ahead and remove this top cover as well, so I don't have any trouble when I pull this thing out, because I'm gonna probably pull the fans with it, and then once I get it out, then I'll transfer the fans to the new radiator and then put it all back together. So also, you want to do this after your vehicle has cooled a little bit. Your coolant is hot, you want to burn yourself, so you want to, and once it's warmed down a little bit, be careful when you're doing this. You want to remove your cap off. Take your cap off here. Like I said, after it's cooled down a little bit, just like that. So it gets your pressure out, and then you should be good. To remove this upper engine cover here, you're going to have a 10mm or a Phillips head screwdriver. I'm just going to use a 10mm. It looks like there's 1, 2, there's 6 of those. So I'm going to remove that, and then we'll move on. Okay, so now we are underneath the vehicle. I went ahead and jacked this thing up just so it had a little more room under here. To do that, I jacked it up by this cross member here for the subframe. So that's a good place to jack it. And then I put my jack stands right underneath the front doors. You'll see the frame come down on either side. Make sure you use your jack stands. Work safely. And then this cover that goes underneath here, it looks like there's a bolt here. One here, let's see, a couple back here probably as well. Which just look, you'll go underneath here and you'll see this plate here. Okay, look around the outsides and you'll see the bolt holes. So we have to remove. Look out this way. Okay, so here is the lower radiator hose. You could drain it by removing this hose if you want to, probably a little faster. But this car is still a little bit warm, so the coolant is not completely cold. So I'm going to remove by this this drain right here. You just unscrew that, and that should drain out. Make sure you put your pan underneath it, obviously. And then also you have to remove these. If you have an automatic transmission, you're going to have to remove these these transmission cooler lines. You have one on either side, and then also it looks like you're going to have to remove this 10mm bolt here holding this bracket on for the transmission cooler line, and this so I guess it's interesting. It has a cooler on the bottom, I guess, and then it has an extra cooler here for the transmission. Kind of weird, but so anyway, this is, get my light, it's held on by these two looks like 10mm bolts on either side. There's 2 on either side, so if you go over here, there's 2 more right there. Okay, so I got that drained. I first drained it with this drain here. Then I pulled the hose off. You're gonna need to squeeze this clamp, move it back, and to break this thing, to break the hose free, you can grab like this and just like that and twist it back and forth, and it'll break it free of the radiator, and then you can slide it off like so. So now I'm gonna go ahead and remove these bolts here, which is right away. Alright, so now grab your pliers. I'm going to remove these hoses right here. And you're probably going to want to grab a pan and put underneath here before you take these all the way off, because it's probably going to drip some transmission fluid. So grab yourself a pan. Okay, so now I'm going to remove this hose here. I got my little pan underneath it. Okay, so I'm just going to grab it, twist it a little bit, and pull it. Let that drain. And keep this from making a mess. Got an old spark plug. I'm just going to stick that in there. That'll seal that up so we can take this radiator out. All right, same thing for this hose here. Just grab it, twist it. Okay, so we're now back up on top. I'm going to go ahead and remove this top hose here. I'm going to loosen this clamp here and twist this hose up so it's out of my way. I'm just going to do that right there, just so that's out of my way. Also need to remove this little guy right here. Okay, so in order to unplug the fans, the top one, you have to push in this tab right here, right there. It'll be on the back side. And this bottom connector, it's going to be on top here. You just need to press in the tab on the back here. See that right there? Press that in the back. And it should pull right off. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove those bolts holding this radiator down. Just the one right down in here, that one right there. They look like they're 12 millimeter, and there's gonna be one on each side. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and remove these bolts holding this radiator down. And like I said, 12 millimeter. Okay, that's actually gonna be a nut. And do this to either side. Okay, so that worked just as I had planned. So look, when you take these out, you can pick up on it. And these are studs down in here that, see, when you take the nut off, you're gonna have a stud sticking up a little ways. So pick up a little bit to clear the studs, and then you can push it back a little bit. And once you push it back, you'll see that the condenser here is in fact bolted to the radiator. So it looks like it's held on either side. So now that it's kind of pushed back, we can get to these bolts a lot easier. You can go right through the front to get that bolt off. You don't have to go up top if you want to. It's just as easy doing this, but you probably can take those bolts off before you move it forward like that. And same for this guy over here. There's one right there. You're going to have two more of those. See the other one? You got one right down in there. I don't know if you see that right. That tip of my finger. And then you're going to have one about the same spot on this side right there. So you need to remove all of those. Like I said, those are 10 millimeter, and that should free up this condenser. Okay, so I removed those 4 bolts, and that separated it from the condenser. Now, I will say this thing was the arms that hold down here will be underneath. When you try to pull it up, they'll be underneath these hoses here on either side. So you need to do is kind of push it back. Actually, if you wanted to, you could probably get like a bungee cord and put from like put it right around here or something, right around the condenser, just to hold it back. Just so it holds back here so you can get your way. I was able to do it just fine without it, but you're gonna need to push this back, and then you can pull this side up, and then kind of go over here and then kind of push this off to the side. You'll get it out. It's not that hard to do. And then of course, like I said, make sure these are disconnected, and you can go ahead and pull it right out. Okay, so now that we have the radiator out, we're gonna have to remove this fan assembly here. So you have 2 bolts on top. Those appear to be 12 millimeters. So you remove those 2, and it looks like once you remove those 2, this will pull back, and you can pull it up, and then we'll put that on the new one. Okay, so I got the new radiator here, and this one actually did come with some new rubber grommets that go on the bottom here. A lot of times you have to switch those over. So this one did come with them. But make sure to check if yours did not come with those little rubber pieces on the bottom. Make sure you switch those over. So now, you see here I got the fans on. And what you do, oh, by the way, these are 10mm bolts that hold these fans on. But what you do is you take these bolts out and kind of pull it back like this, and it goes out. There are little tabs on the bottom here that hold it in place. So same thing when you put it back together, you slide those tabs into place and then push it back and then bolt it down here. Make sure it's sitting all the way down and seated all the way down into those down these holes right here. So now this is together, I'm gonna go ahead and slide it in. You have to work around these lines again, just like you had to do when you're taking it out. Okay, just like that. And that slides right down into place. I'm gonna go underneath it and check and make sure everything's good. Okay, so now this is all good. I've checked underneath here, and both of those rubber grommets fell right down into place, and everything's lining up perfectly. So, and the one thing I want to show you, these little plastic pieces here, when you take the bolts off, they're going to be sitting on the side right here. So we take these out. These are just going to fall, or you can grab them and pull them out the top when you unbolt these bolts that hold on the condenser. Alright, so I'm going to shoot this in fast motion now. I already showed you how to take everything off, so you know everything is now. So I'm going to show you. I'm just going to go ahead and put these 2 bolts that hold the radiator in place, the 4 bolts that hold the condenser in place. We have an upper radiator hose here we got put on. Remove that little cap. The hose right there. Put the little hose on right there. And then after that, we'll go underneath and finish up under there. Be sure you remember to plug your electrical connectors back in right here. Remember, there's 2 of them. Just snap those in place. I got these 2 bolts in place to hold it down. Got the front hose on. Got this hose on. Now I'm gonna go ahead and bolt this condenser in place. Okay, so we have both of the transmission cooler lines in place, and the hose clamps all the way tightened, all the way back to the front here. Those are good. This is in place here. We got both of these bolts, and these lights are not. Both of these bolts on this side in place. Both of the ones on this side, and you can't see it, but they're in place. And we got that pushed back. You just snap that back up in place. And the radiator hose is in place. So we are done. Only thing now, we got to put this cover back underneath here. Then we'll lower the car down, go back up top, put the top covers back on, and then we'll bleed the system out. One more thing though, you might want to wait to put the cover back on, the bottom and the top one over top the radiator, to make sure and check there's no leaks. Okay, so I got my little funnel on there. We'll go ahead and add some coolant and water together. Now, if you do not buy the already pre-mixed coolant, if you buy the stuff that you have to add water to it, I like to use some distilled water. Just keep it from rusting your system out. Add a bit of water. And some coolant. Also, when you bleed this thing, it'd be a good idea to go ahead and just leave it jacked up. That way the air will be higher. So the radiator will be higher up in the front there. That way it'll bleed out a little better for you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hop inside the car and crank it up. You want to go ahead and put your heat to the full, just turn it all the way on heat. You don't have to have your blower on, just have it on heat. And then once the temperature gets up to normal operating temperature where your thermostat opens, the system will start flowing the coolant, and that way with your heater on, you'll flow coolant throughout the entire system, getting all that air out while you have this open. Okay, so we have this shield on here now. You got 10 millimeters on that, and then here you just snap these things in place, put them down in there, and you're gonna have the screw top, and you can just snap those down or screw them in, whatever. As you see here, we have the splash shield back up. You have 2 bolts on the front, like I said before, and these are 12 millimeter. There's one there and one there, and I have one on either side up in here. See, there's one right there, and then there's 2 across the back here. Also, one more thing I forgot to mention here is make sure your coolant level is good between these 2 lines here. If you have too much, just you need to take a turkey baster or something like that, and you know, take some out or add some. Just make sure it's the right level. So, also, what I want to say is check your transmission fluid when you're done with this, because remember we removed those transmission lines and a little bit dripped out. Not a whole lot of coolant or not a whole lot of transmission fluid will come out, but it's still a good idea to just go ahead and check your transmission fluid and make sure. Nothing, you know, make sure it's not too low. Alright y'all, thank you so much for watching. This video is helpful. Please give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to see all my videos in the future. And I will see y'all next time.